Yeah, hello and welcome to today's tutorial on app development with Flutter. My name is remains Zemeta Victor, and today we'll be looking into what we call the UI and exploring different layout widgets, and we'll be doing some kinds of basics and Flutter. So in the previous class, we talked about how we work with what's it called? Various widgets, the main widget like the scaffold widget, the material app, and we did some kind of workings. Yeah. So in today's tutorial, we're going to be looking at some critical what's it called widgets that we are going to be working with. So we're going to be, let me just having to run my application, which as I said is Flutter run. So just to spin up the server. So quickly, without wasting so much time, we're going to be talking about the first widget, which is the container. We talked about center in the previous class here. So let me just open up all of these so that you can see. Yeah, we've talked about the app bar here, where we use the text widget. We talked about the body. So majorly we're going to be focusing on the body, and we're going to be building stuffs around it. So now there's a widget called container, and container is used to segment or put some kind of stuff. So just imagine you want to put something and you want a group of items there, and you want something within those things. You can always use a container. So I'm waiting for our application to spin up the server, which we're going to, before we do that, we're going to be talking about what containers are. So I'm going to come to this place here. I'm going to type container Flutter. So we're going to be reading about the container class in Flutter, and this is going to give us an insight on what we are doing. So it is very good for you to learn how to work with what's it called, widgets, and read documentations. The container first surrounds the child with padding inflated by borders present in the decoration, and this applies to additional constraint. So we're going to be doing these containers from scratch. As you can see, this is an example of a container. So this is a container, and it takes a child, because you need to put something inside the container for the container to actually come in the way you want it. So we are trying to wait for Chrome to come up. So let's wait a little. Okay, so Chrome is up, and without wasting so much time, let me just look for a way to reduce this, and yeah, put it somewhere down here. Okay. So I'm going to close this and just wait for this to spin up. So if you actually followed us via the task and assignment, you should have gotten to this point whereby we built in the hello world, and we have an hello world. Now, if you notice, we are using a center here. Yeah, we're using a center in here, in this area. So I'm going to remove this center. Then I'm going to use a widget called container. And now why it's important for us to use a widget called container is so that we can actually give it a kind of height. It has a property like height and width. So now the container, we're going to break this. The container takes a child, so we're going to put it child. So that's a property which is equals to. So what do you want as a child? I can put it a text like this. So you can see we have a text, and the text takes a value. So let's put in hello world. So I'm going to save it. Then I'm going to do some hot restart. I'm supposed to do the hot reload. So as you can see, we have the hello world in here. Now, there is another property you can add to a container, whereby if you want to, align this container, maybe to the left, to the top, and so many. So you just type another property called alignment. As you can see, this alignment takes another alignment, which this is actually a value alignment dot. Now it depends on what you want. We have bottom center. So once I save it, I kind of could not find my what's it called. Let's check if we have some Flutter installed. Yeah, there's a particular widget that's supposed to come up. Okay, and that's because I was running it on the terminal. Okay, I was running it on the terminal. Let me just Control Q. Let me quit this. Then let me come in here and start debugging. So run and debug. That should bring up a kind of, this particular stuff here. So I needed this. I was using my terminal. That's why I wasn't having it. So I needed this launching this capability here. So I think I have to increase my brightness a little. Okay. So as you can see, it's going to be building it, which wait a little for it to come. So we have the alignment, which is another property. So this is a child which takes a text. You can take a text. It could take any other widget. You could take a button. We're going to come to that aspect. So we're going to start with text, and we'll still be working with all this styling. But we want to go through the basics of a container and what a container can do. So we'll be looking at majorly some properties in the container. So we'll wait for these to finish up. So let me just wait for this to finish up. So it has been completely installed. The build is working perfectly. So you can see we have at the bottom center. So that's the bottom and in the center. We can also put alignment dot center, and once you save it and we performing hot reload, you can see we have it in the center. Now you might not see the container, but there is a container surrounding this guy here. So for you to see the container, let's just give it a kind of color. Color is a property. Now if you want to access a color, we use colors, that is from the colors dot, let's say amber. So once I save it, you can now see that this is a container. You can see the color of the container. So this is a container here. It has expanded, and it's kind of, because we use the alignment. So the alignment in the center allow the container to expand. But if we did not use the alignment here and I saved it, you'd see that we have the container kind of shrinking. So which brings us to the next property, which is the width. So the width takes a double, so I can say 10.0. So you can see the width, which is kind of too small. Let's make it 50. Save it, you can see it. So it's not always okay to be using this kind of, because you are not going to, it's not specific, like you wouldn't know, it's in kind of pixels or so. The same thing with the height. You can say 50.0. So you can see that the height has increased. That is another property, the width, the height. Now there is something you can use instead of using these instead of using this width and height and stuff. You can use another function, another kind of media query. This will give you a kind of it's going to give you a kind of width or height. So let me show you. So we can come to the height here. Instead of using the values and you start playing with it, you don't know which one is going to meet your requirement, then we can now use what we call media query, like this, dot off. Then we have this context. So just follow me while doing this. Dot size, you can cram this, then dot width. Now the meaning of this, media query of context.size.width. It's going to calculate the width of that device. If it's your phone, if it's my phone, it's going to calculate the width and it's going to go to the end of the width. So the width of my device is different from the width of your device. The same thing with height. So I'll just copy all of these all the way down to size. So it means get the device, the media query, and get me the height. So once you've done this, you'd see that it's getting the exact height. So this is like 100%. So this is 100%. This is 100%. Now, if I need half of it, I can come. If I need half of the width, I can come in front of the width and put divided by 2. So once I save it now, I get the exact half. So if I need like 70%, if I need like 30%, you'd know what to do to divide all of these. So I can come here and say the width minus, or minus or times 0.5, when you're doing some kind of mathematics. So divided by 2 is like saying half of it. Divided by 4 is like saying quarter. So you can see. So depending on your use case. So this is just like the media query of context. Now you can also store this thing in here. You can store the variable in here. So the next thing we're going to be talking about is variables now. Maybe I don't want to have this long text. I can decide to store these width and height here. So the final width is equals to, I'm going to say final height is equals to this one is equals to dot height. So like this, now I'm setting my width and my height, and you can, if you check it, because I want to use it within the widget, I am setting it in this widget scope. Now you can set variables here. That's a different one. You can also set variables here. So for now, we're setting the variables here because instead of me having to start writing the media query of dot size, dot height, I can come in here now. I can use width to be equals to width and height should be equals to be height. So I'm using the values here. So final width and height. So the final means the exact width and height. So once I save it here and we have an alt restart, you see we can have these. So I can now say width. I can do my calculations on this width divided by 2. And I don't have to start copying and pasting all of this media query dot of context of size of width. That is another way of doing it. So you can use it, or you can just have a variable up there. So yes, you can always have a variable on your code. It's very possible. So, and I think that is for the size, which I wanted to go through. So we looked at the size, the width, and the the height. Now, so the next thing I want to talk about is row in so let me just remove this. Let me make the color, I think the color is okay. Let me make it kind of let me make it kind of dark a little. Okay, now no, let me make it dark. Let me just make it white for this course so that we're going to see on the colors later. So we have the hello world here. Now you can decide to center the child. There is no problem. It's going to still work. Now another thing that we can put inside the child is buttons. We'll come back to rows. We have buttons. There are three important buttons in what's it called in Flutter. We have the text button, we have the elevated button, we have the outline button. So let's try the text button. So I'm going to say text button. So now the text button takes a child. So the child can be a text like this. So let me put click me. So that's the child. So let me. So now you can see that there is a kind of red color. Now what the red color is telling you that this text button requires a parameter or a property called onPressed. So after the first value, which is child, as you can see, we have a child here. After the first value is a child, we need something called unpressed. Now, unpressed means what do you want to do when we click on the button? What do you want to do? So we're going to put in this second one here. So we just need it, we just leave it empty. So let me just format. So you can format your document so that it can look neat here. So let's put some kind of const so that we can get rid of these errors. I think I should have a const here. I'm just remove this one. Yeah, just remove the const. So you can see we have, let's just remove the const. We have this the child argument should be the last in the, so let's save now and let's see what we have now. So you see we can have this click me inside button, but it's kind of big, extremely big. So, and that's because of this height and width. So let me just remove these. Let's save. Now you can see this is the text button. There is no kind of elevation under it. This is the text button. So one more thing I'm going to put under it is the, let's use the alignment. That is the alignment li dot center. So let's just have this. So you can see we have the, can you see the button there? So once you click on it, nothing is happening, and that's because there is nothing you want to do inside this unpressed here. So for us to do something, I can come in between the unpressed and I can put in print. You clicked me. So I'm going to make sure I cover this now. I'm going to save this. Now once you've done that, you want to make sure you open your terminal here, your debug console. Then once you click on the click me, you can see it says you clicked me. I click it again. You clicked me, you clicked me. So that's for the button. We have different button. We have text button. We have so let's change this one to outlined button. So you can see the outline button changed. Then we have the last one, which is elevated button. So the elevated button. So once I save it now, you can see we have the elevated button that has this kind of background and is, it's with it. So that's for the we are still within the scope of the body, so I don't want you to be confused. Let me remove all of these. So we talked about the body. Inside the body, this is the body here. We have a container. Inside the container, we have a child. Let me just collapse the child. Other properties we have is the color, which we made it white. So if I change it from color this to like green or black, you can see that we're going to have the black and the click me inside of it. So that is like, the background of the distance. So we use color dot for, you can use any kind of color. Now you can see it's changed. Normally we started with color dot black. So as you can see, it's black. But once we start playing with it, like we start moving it, then you can see we have const color dot from. This is going to kind of change. So, but we'll leave it at black and save it. So depending on your whatever you want to do, you can always switch within that. So that's for the color property. Then the alignment property to move it left or right or center or wherever you want it to be. Now that is for the elevated button. Now we don't want just one thing inside here. We want two guys inside here. So I'm going to remove the color. So I'm going to make the color white because we're still working. So I'm going to make the color white. Now I don't want just one item. I want multiple items. Like I want a text, maybe 2 buttons, 3 buttons. Then I'm going to, from this container, I'm going to remove this child, all the way to this place. Let me just remove this child, which is the elevated button. So let me show you. Let me just break it down. So from here, I'm going to remove all of these. I think so, yeah. So, no, from here, this elevated button, you can see the name is Adla. I'm going to remove this elevated button. Remove it. Sorry. Let me just remove the elevated button. Then you can see we have the child, and we need to pass something inside. That takes us to the next topic, which is row. So let's type in row. Is another widget. Row is another widget. And the first value it takes is a children. We did that before with bottom navigation, which take an item. So let me show you. So now row takes a children, like some children or children's. So inside these children, you cannot pass in all those widgets you want. So let me save it now. All of this is going to go. You will not see anything. Now inside the children, I told you before that this is like a list. You can have the first one as a text. Hello. So let's go. Hello. So once I save it, you see the hello. So this is a row. Now let me explain how row work. Row is okay. Let me put in the next one. Let me put the elevated button. That's the one I copied before. Can you see that we have the comma, then the elevated button? Then you can see we have hello. We have click me, and like that. Row is like on a line, like on the x-axis. So we have two types of axis. We have the cross-axis alignment, and we have the main axis alignment. Now, this is the children inside the row, and as you can see, it's on a line. Now, if I remove this row and I use the other one called column, and I save it, can you see we have hello on top, click me next. So row is like this, column is like this. They work the same way, but just different directions. So I'm going to use the column, and that's because I want to put this one in the center. So I'm going to come to the column, like collapse the children. Under the column, I'm going to put in the next property on top. Now there's a property that you can use for the column or the row. Both of them is going to work, but they do two different things. Now there's something called the cross axis alignment. That's the property or the parameter, which takes a cross axis alignment dot. Do you want it at the center? Do you want it at the baseline? So if you put and what's it called, and stretch. So we're going to talk about center, which is going to put this one in the center. I'm going to talk about dot end, which is going to take it to the end. There you can see it's going to the end. We have dot start, so you're having at the start, and that's because we have a kind of. So let me just close this. We have we have an alignment here in here. So let's remove this alignment here. So you can see the cross axis alignment start end. So one better way to do this is to let's give it a width so that we can have it as the width. Like we know we was saved a width above here, so you know we have the width from here, which is going to give us the full width of the application itself. So we're going to perform an auto reload on that. So okay, as you can see it, so that's the end. So we have the start. So the start is going to come in here. We have I think it's a baseline. We have one called baseline. So I don't think that baseline is going to work. It was giving us an issue, but we'll talk about the baseline later. Yeah, so that's for the cross. So let's just put it at the center. So then the second one we have, you can see that the cross axis alignment on row, on column is going like this. It's going like this. But once you change this to row, now you find out that the cross axis alignment is going to be like this. So let's try. Since we're on the row, let's just do some hot restart because we've shifted it to row and we have to restart the application. Okay, can you see it now? So when we say dot center, we have to come and give it a height to here. So we're going to say height, and we're going to use height also. So saving it is going to have the height. So this is the center. This is the start. The start is going to go up. The end is going to go down. So that is for what's it called? That's for row and column. So the cross axis alignment is going to do the opposite. Apart from the cross axis alignment, we have the main axis alignment. So I'm going to say main. So it's like moving it like the cross. So up and down, left and right. So since cross axis alignment is moving it like this, to tell you that main axis alignment is going to move it on the x axis. So say dot center, then you can see it's going to be in the center. So we want it center, so we can place both at the dot center. Then you have something like this. So this is row. I can turn it back here. It's going to work. Column. So it's doing it's doing opposite stuffs here, as you can see. So if I say here it should be end, you can see we're having it at the center end. So that's for the column. That's for what's it called? The row. Now I'm going to remove this height, and I want to introduce it to another property of the container. So let's close this column. I'm going to perform an hot restart here. So we're going to perform an hot restart. So let me just remove all this cross axis alignment, so I can show you what is going on. So I'm going to make this one a row. Then now if you check very well, there is no padding. So the next thing we're going to talk about in a container is what we call the padding. So a container has another property called padding. So once you click on padding, that's a property. Then you can now say to give it a padding, there's something called edge insets dot all. All means padding means space inside a container. Padding means space inside the container. So I can say all. I can give it a value like 10.0. Now if you notice that there is a padding, see this white, there's a kind of padding beside it. So that is padding. So we have all, we have various values. So we have dot from left to right, bottom. So from left to right means you're going to put each of the value, left, top, right, bottom. So I can put 10.0, I can put on the top 5.0, I can put by the right 3.0, I can put by the bottom 2.0. So once I save it, you see that there's a kind of padding. The top is more than the bottom. So that's for from left, top, right, bottom. We have dot symmetric. So symmetric is going to take two values, left and right, vertical and horizontal. So when I put in vertical, I can put 10.0. So vertical is I think is, let me increase it so I can see what is vertical is kind of up and down, so like this. Then we have horizontal. Horizontal is left and right, so I can make it 50.0. Can you see it now? So that's how and that's how it's done. Yeah. So that aside, we've done the padding when it comes to the container, and we've looked at some of those basic things that we can work with in container. So yeah, we talked about the elevated button, the types of button, and the text outline and the elevated. Now, in the next video, we'll be looking at what's it called, the stateful and the stateless widget, and how different they are from each other. We'll be able to click on the button, and the button should be able to do something. So that's what we're going to be looking at, and we'll be looking at after that we're going to be looking at how to style the text, the what is it called, the container, how to give it a kind of color. We'll be looking at some expanded property and so on. So that's that for this video. In the next video we'll be looking at the stateful and the stateless widget.